My name is Emma Carter, and I was 29 years old when my sister tried to destroy my wedding with a lie she had spent years preparing. The strange thing is I should have seen it coming. The first time Olivia betrayed me, we were children. I was 8. She was 12. My grandmother had given me a small silver necklace for my birthday, a delicate little heart on a chain. I loved it so much that I slept wearing it. 3 days later, it disappeared. I cried for hours. Then my mother found it hidden inside my toy box. "Emma," she said sharply, holding it up. "Why would you lie about losing it?" "I didn't," I insisted. Olivia stood in the doorway with a look of concern that even now I remember perfectly. Maybe she forgot where she put it. Everyone believed her. No one believed me. Years later, Olivia admitted she had hidden it herself as a joke. Nobody cared by then, but I did, because that moment taught me something important. In my family, Olivia's version of events was always accepted first. Mine had to fight for oxygen. As we got older, that pattern never changed. When she borrowed money and didn't return it, somehow I was selfish for asking. When she ruined relationships, she became the victim. When she lied, people called it exaggeration. When I defended myself, people called it drama. Eventually, I stopped trying. I moved 3 hours away after college. I built a life that existed beyond the reach of family, dinners and endless comparisons, and that's where I met Nathan Brooks. Nathan was 32. He owned a small architecture firm and possessed the rare ability to make people feel completely seen. We met in the least romantic place imaginable, a grocery store. I was reaching for a carton of milk when an entire display of cereal boxes collapsed beside me. A man immediately appeared from around the corner. "Oh no." I turned. He looked horrified. "What?" "I think I caused that." I stared at the mountain of cereal covering the floor. "You think?" He rubbed the back of his neck. In my defense, I only bumped one box. One box caused all this? Apparently, they're emotionally fragile. I laughed. The employee helping us clean up laughed. Nathan looked relieved. 20 minutes later, we were drinking coffee together. 3 years after that, he proposed. Not on a beach. Not in Paris. Not under fireworks. He proposed while we were assembling furniture. I was sitting on the floor, surrounded by screws and instruction manuals when he suddenly stopped talking. I looked up. He was holding a ring. For a second, I genuinely thought he had found it in one of the boxes. Then he said my name, and I started crying before he even finished. We planned our wedding for early October. Nothing extravagant, just beautiful. The venue was a restored vineyard outside the city. String lights, stone pathways, golden autumn leaves. Everything felt peaceful. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was building something nobody could take away from me. Then Olivia got engaged. The timing was impossible to ignore. She announced it exactly 8 days after we sent our wedding invitations. Everyone acted thrilled. I was thrilled too. At least I tried to be. But something felt off. She wasn't in love with her fiancé, Derek. You could see it. Even he could see it. Every conversation became a competition. If Nathan and I booked flowers, Olivia booked more expensive flowers. If we chose a photographer, she found a better one. If I mentioned honeymoon plans, she immediately started discussing luxury resorts. At first, I ignored it. Then came the phone calls. The comments, the subtle little attacks disguised as concern. "Are you sure Nathan's business is doing okay?" "What do you mean?" "I heard architecture firms are struggling." "Who told you that?" "Oh, people talk." "People never talked." Olivia did. Then there were comments about my dress. Comments about my age. Comments about whether Nathan really wanted children. Always innocent. Always impossible to confront directly. Always designed to leave a bruise. 3 weeks before the wedding, Nathan came home unusually quiet. I knew immediately something was wrong. He set his keys on the counter. Then he looked at me. "Your sister called me." My stomach dropped. "What did she say?" He hesitated. That scared me more than anything. Finally, he answered. "She said you were engaged before." I blinked. "I was." Nathan nodded. "I know." "Then why are you upset?" His expression tightened. "Because she said that's not the part you've been hiding." The room suddenly felt smaller. "What did she tell you?" Nathan sat down. Slowly, carefully, like someone approaching a wounded animal. "She said you cheated on your ex-fiancé." I stared at him. For several seconds, I genuinely couldn't process the words. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was insane. "What?" "Emma." "No." I shook my head immediately. "No, absolutely not." Nathan didn't look angry. He looked confused, which somehow hurt more. That's what I thought too. What else did she say? He looked away. She said that's why the engagement ended. I felt something cold settle in my chest, because there had been a previous engagement, 5 years earlier, to a man named Aaron, and it had ended badly, very badly, but not because I cheated, not even close. Aaron had cheated, repeatedly. For nearly a year, the breakup had nearly destroyed me. Most people knew only pieces of the story. Olivia knew all of it. Every detail, every humiliation, every night I spent crying on her couch, every lie Aaron had told. She had been there. She had watched me survive it. And now she was rewriting history. Nathan reached across the table. Hey, I realized I was shaking. Look at me. I did. He squeezed my hand. I don't believe her. My eyes immediately filled with tears. Then why ask? Because secrets grow when people don't talk about them. His voice remained calm, gentle. I wanted to hear you tell me. So I did. I told him everything. The cheating, the messages, the hotel receipts, the second phone, the woman who called me because she didn't know Aaron was engaged. All of it. Nathan listened quietly. When I finished, he pulled me into his arms and held me there. Neither of us said anything for a while. Eventually he whispered, I'm sorry someone used your worst memory as a weapon. I cried harder after that because that sentence contained more understanding than most people had shown me in years. The next morning I called Olivia. She answered on the third ring. Hey, Em. Like nothing had happened. What did you tell Nathan? Silence, then a sigh. I was trying to protect him. My hand tightened around the phone. From what? From you making the same mistakes again. I almost laughed. What mistakes? You know exactly what I mean. No, I said. Actually, I don't. Another pause. Then she said the most unbelievable thing. You've always rewritten history to make yourself look innocent. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Because that was exactly what she had spent her entire life doing. Projecting her own behavior onto everyone else. I ended the call. Not dramatically, not angrily, just quietly. I hung up. And for the first time in my life, I stopped trying to convince Olivia to understand me. The wedding moved forward. Invitations were finalized. Seating charts completed. Vendors confirmed. Outwardly, everything appeared normal. Inside, something had changed. A line had finally been crossed. I just didn't know how far Olivia was willing to go. The answer arrived 12 days before the wedding. I was at work when my phone started vibrating repeatedly. Text messages. 5, then 10, then 20. Friends, cousins, people I hadn't spoken to in months. My heart began racing. The first message simply read, Emma, is this true? Attached was a screenshot. I opened it and felt the blood drain from my face. Someone had posted anonymously in a local community group. The post claimed that Nathan was about to marry a woman with a history of infidelity and emotional abuse. It included my full name, my photograph, and details from my previous engagement. Twisted, manipulated, rewritten. The author never identified themselves. But I knew. The same way you know rain is coming before the first drop falls. I knew. By evening, the post had been shared hundreds of times. Nathan's brother called. His aunt called. Former co-workers called. Everyone wanted answers. Everyone wanted clarification. And the worst part? The story contained enough truth to sound believable. Those are always the most dangerous lies. The ones built on real foundations. That night, Nathan and I sat in our living room reading comments until neither of us could stand it anymore. Finally, he closed the laptop. Enough. I looked at him. What if people believe it? He leaned back. What if they do? I swallowed. What if it ruins everything? Nathan reached for my hand and smiled sadly. Then the people who disappear weren't really standing with us to begin with. I wanted to borrow his certainty. I wanted to live inside it for a while, but fear is stubborn, especially when it wears the face of someone you've spent your entire life trying to survive. 3 days later, something happened that changed everything. A woman named Claire Henderson contacted me through social media. I didn't recognize the name at first. Then I opened her message, and my breath caught, because Claire Henderson wasn't a stranger. She was Aaron's wife, the woman he had eventually married after our engagement ended. And according to her message, she had something important that I needed to see before my wedding day. Something she had discovered accidentally. Something involving Olivia. And something she insisted was far worse than a social media rumor. When I agreed to meet her, she gave me a location, a small cafe downtown. Friday morning, 10 o'clock. Exactly 1 week before my wedding. I had no idea that conversation would expose a secret my sister had been hiding for years, or that by the end of it, the person leaving the cafe would not be me. It would be Olivia. Friday morning arrived gray and cool. I barely slept the night before. Every possibility had played through my head. Maybe Claire had information about the anonymous post. Maybe Aaron had confessed something. Maybe Olivia had simply dragged another person into her chaos. Whatever it was, I needed answers. At 9:55, I walked into the cafe. Claire was already there. She sat near the window with a cup of untouched coffee. The moment she saw me, she stood. There was something nervous about her. Not guilty, not defensive, just uncomfortable, like someone carrying a truth they wished belonged to someone else. Emma? Claire? We shook hands. I sat across from her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she slid a folder across the table. My stomach tightened. What is this? Claire exhaled slowly. I found it by accident. I opened the folder. Inside were printed emails, screenshots, bank records, messages. At first, none of it made sense. Then I saw Olivia's name, and everything stopped. What am I looking at? Claire looked down. Aaron didn't just cheat on you. The words hit harder than I expected, even after all these years. He and Olivia were involved. The world seemed to tilt sideways. I stared at her. No, I'm sorry. No. I shook my head. That's not possible. Claire pushed one screenshot closer. It was an old email, 8 years old. Aaron's name, Olivia's name, hotel reservations, weekend trips, messages that left no room for misunderstanding. I felt physically sick. My hands started trembling. Claire's voice became distant. They started seeing each other while you were engaged. I looked at another document. Then another. Then another. Every page felt like being struck by something heavy. The evidence was overwhelming. Dates, photos, conversations. There was no explanation, no misunderstanding, no context that could save it. My sister had been sleeping with my fiancé for months, maybe longer. And when the engagement exploded, she had stood beside me pretending to be my support system, pretending to be my shoulder to cry on, pretending to hate the man who broke my heart. I suddenly remembered every conversation. Every time Olivia encouraged me to forgive Aaron. Every time she defended him. Every time she seemed strangely informed about things she shouldn't have known. The memories rearranged themselves instantly, like puzzle pieces finally snapping together. Oh my God. Tears blurred my vision. Not because I missed Aaron. I didn't. That grief had died years ago. What shattered me was realizing that one of the people I trusted most had watched my pain from the front row and helped create it. Claire swallowed. There's more. I almost laughed. More? How could there possibly be more? She handed me another sheet. A recent email, 6 months old. My eyes moved across the page, then stopped, then reread it. Again and again, because my brain refused to accept it. The anonymous social media post, the one attacking me, the one trying to ruin my wedding. It hadn't been Olivia acting alone. Aaron had helped. They had stayed in contact for years. Not romantically. Strategically. Whenever one wanted information about me, the other provided it. Every ugly detail, every vulnerable moment, every personal struggle. Shared, discussed, used. I covered my mouth. Claire looked heartbroken. I thought you deserved to know. I couldn't speak. For a long moment, neither of us said anything. Then she reached across the table. I left Aaron. I looked up. What? 3 months ago. She gave a humorless smile. I discovered who he really was. My eyes moved back to the documents. You found all this after? She nodded. He kept everything. Of course he did. People like Aaron always keep trophies. Evidence of what they've gotten away with. I closed the folder. Carefully, because suddenly I felt incredibly calm. Not okay, not healed. Calm. The way the ocean becomes calm before a storm. Thank you, I said quietly. Claire nodded. Then she surprised me. Whatever happens next, don't protect her. I looked at her. She held my gaze. People like Olivia survive because everyone protects them from consequences. I thought about that all the way home. By the time I reached my apartment, I knew exactly what I was going to do. The wedding was 7 days away. And for once in her life, Olivia was going to face the truth in public. The rehearsal dinner took place the night before the ceremony. A beautiful private venue overlooking the vineyard. Golden lights hung from wooden beams. Music drifted softly through the room, Guests laughed over wine and appetizers. Everything looked perfect. Olivia arrived 20 minutes late. Naturally, she entered smiling, confident, beautiful, the star of every room she walked into, or so she believed. She hugged relatives, accepted compliments, posed for photographs, acted like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't spent months trying to destroy my wedding. I watched from across the room and waited. At exactly 8:30, Nathan tapped a glass. Conversations faded. People turned toward us. Nathan smiled. "I'd like to make a toast." Guests applauded. He looked at me, then squeezed my hand. "You first." The room chuckled. I stepped forward, heart pounding. The folder hidden beneath the table suddenly felt very heavy. I took a breath, then another, and began. "I want to thank everyone for being here tonight." Smiles, nods, warm faces, people who loved us, people who believed they were attending an ordinary rehearsal dinner. I also want to thank someone specific. My eyes moved toward Olivia. Her smile widened. She thought I was about to praise her. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I want to thank my sister. The room turned toward her. Olivia placed a hand on her chest dramatically. "Emma," I continued, "for teaching me the difference between family and loyalty." The smile disappeared. Instantly, silence spread through the room. My father frowned. My mother looked confused. Nathan stood beside me, steady, unmoving. I opened the folder and placed several documents on the table. Olivia went pale. Actually pale, for the first time all evening. "What are you doing?" Her voice cracked slightly. I looked directly at her, telling the truth. My father's chair scraped against the floor. "Emma." No, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The room was silent enough to hear breathing. For months, Olivia has attempted to sabotage my wedding. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I continued. She told Nathan I cheated on my former fiancé. Faces shifted. Confusion, shock, disbelief. She spread false stories online. My mother looked at Olivia, then back at me. "Emma, this isn't appropriate." I laughed softly. The irony nearly broke me. After everything, after decades, now they wanted appropriate. I lifted one document. "This is a hotel reservation." Then another. "And this is an email." Then another. "And this is proof that Olivia was having an affair with my fiancé Aaron while we were engaged." Gasps exploded throughout the room. Actual gasps. Olivia stood so quickly her chair nearly tipped over. "You're lying." The word sounded weak. Desperate, I handed the papers to Nathan's mother, then to his brother, then to another guest. Evidence travels quickly when nobody can deny it. Olivia looked around the room, searching for allies, for rescue, for someone willing to save her. No one moved. Because documents don't care about charisma. Truth doesn't care about popularity. My father stood. "That's enough." I turned toward him. "No." The single word echoed. 40 years of family dynamics cracked in that moment. He stared at me, waiting for me to back down. I didn't. Not this time. Not ever again. I looked at everyone gathered there. Then I spoke carefully. My entire life, I have been asked to stay quiet so other people could remain comfortable. Tears filled my eyes, but my voice remained steady. "I'm done doing that." Olivia suddenly started crying. Loudly, dramatically, the way she always did when consequences appeared. "This is cruel." I almost laughed. Cruel. The woman who spent months trying to destroy my wedding was calling me cruel. Nathan stepped forward, his voice calm, controlled. "No, Olivia." Everyone looked at him. "This is accountability." Silence, then more silence. And finally something happened that I will never forget. My mother sat down, slowly, like someone realizing a story they had believed for years wasn't true. She looked at Olivia. Not at me, at Olivia. And for the first time in my entire life, she didn't defend her. She didn't excuse her. She didn't rescue her. She simply looked tired. Very tired. Olivia understood immediately. The room had shifted. The spell was broken. She grabbed her purse. "You'll regret this." I met her eyes. No. For the first time ever. I truly meant it. She left. My father followed. Neither returned. The room remained quiet for several moments. Then Nathan's mother stood, just like she had stood up for me 100 times before. She lifted her glass. To truth. Someone else lifted theirs. Then another. Then another. Within seconds, the entire room joined. I cried. Nathan cried. Half the guests cried, and somehow the evening continued. Lighter, freer, as if someone had opened a window in a room that had been suffocating for years. The next day I married Nathan. The sky was clear. The vineyard glowed gold beneath the autumn sun. The ceremony was simple, honest, perfect. When I walked down the aisle, I wasn't carrying anger anymore. I wasn't carrying Olivia, or Aaron, or years of trying to earn approval from people determined not to give it. I was carrying only myself, and that felt surprisingly light. Nathan cried during his vows. Again. Everyone laughed, including him. I cried during mine too. There was no stopping it. Afterward, during the reception, I looked around the room. Friends, family, people who genuinely loved us, people who chose us. And I realized something important. Family is not the people who share your last name. Family is the people who protect your truth when someone else tries to rewrite it. My name is Emma Brooks, and I was 29 years old when my sister tried to ruin my wedding. She failed. Because lies can survive for years, sometimes decades. But eventually they run into something stronger. Evidence, boundaries, truth, and people brave enough to stop apologizing for it. If you're reading this and someone has spent years convincing you that your voice doesn't matter, hear this. The moment you stop asking permission to tell your story is the moment your life begins to belong to you again. And sometimes the happiest day of your life isn't your wedding. Sometimes it's the day you finally stop carrying someone else's version of who you are